Northwest. This time for the ADRA Funny Car World Finals. In the annals of drag racing, today's event is certain to become a classic. Two superstars with enormous reputations and experience to match have brought their cars to Spokane, Washington, virtually in a dead heat, tied in the race for the all-around world title. Johnny West of Chandler, Arizona, is the whiz kid from the aerospace industry. He spends a lot of his time developing the innovations that an independent must have to combat the bankrolls of the super sponsors. But in drag racing, money still can't buy what people inside the sport call the winning combination. One driver who seems to own that elusive combination is John the Brute Force in the Coca-Cola Funny Car. Force is probably the only driver here who can stop West, a prediction that is as volatile as the speed of these machines. In reality, that makes today's superstar lineup anybody's race. Round one of the World Finals fires up as the fiberglass body on Johnny West's car is lowered into position. West will face Mike Dunn of Taft, California on the far side. Now, if you listen here, you'll notice West's car sounds different from the other nitros during the burn. It's something we've mentioned before. West runs his car on alcohol until he stages, saving his engine for the run. 8 drivers qualified for an equal number of positions on the eliminator chart. The top half of the field all broke into the 5s in a race for the world title. West sits on number 3 in the ladder, with Dunn placing 7th. West picked the tower lane with the low ET. Dunn in the Nighthawk stages his car first and without fanfare. Both cars cling to the track in an explosive charge. Dunn bobbles around in the groove, giving West a slight lead he uses to move into round 2. Johnny West stops the clocks with a 590, 224 miles an hour. Next up on the burnout pad, the number 1 qualifier, Ron Corretti, in a car called Insanity. He's in the tower lane. And ready to heat up his tires on the far side, Gary Ritter. No one's holding back here, especially Ritter. He survived a transmission explosion last year in Kansas City. Another type of explosion these drivers face are those caused by the car's blower. Big Daddy talked about this nightmare with an expert in both funny cars and Top Fuel, Connie Coletta.
Don, just what does the term exploding supercharger mean?
Well, this is a supercharger, and what this does, this causes the engine to have more pressure than like your normal passenger car, which actually has a vacuum in the manifold. This car has a pressure. So if any fire gets by the intake valve in any way, this device explodes, and before we had these straps, they would fly into the air and sometimes would go into the stands. A very dangerous situation. Not too dangerous for the driver, like in Connie Coletta's Bounty Hunter here. He's setting up front. But now in a funny car, it's a totally different situation. This supercharger could go right into the lap of the driver sitting back there. So they put these straps on there, and since then, it's been much safer. Sometimes they still get away, but most of the times, the straps keep the things on the engine, and that's very important. Wouldn't you say, Connie?
Definitely. That's saved a lot of lives so far that we can see. Also the parts and stuff, and it doesn't tear the fuel lines off and start a big fire, which is really a nasty thing in a funny car. The dragster isn't as bad, but the funny car is devastating.
Both of these drivers are from California. Ritter's of Hayward stages his car ever so carefully. Corretti hails from El Monte. Ritter leaves the line like a rocket. Watch out, Corretti's car is nearly out of control. Smoke is everywhere as his 17-inch slicks look for something to bite into. In the meantime, Gary Ritter makes good use of the Insanity car's misfortune by passing on to the semifinals to face Johnny West. Ritter posts a 6:36. His parachute's tripped up the timing beam, so no miles per hour will be posted this go-round. Two very interesting drivers are pulling up to the line next. On the far side, John Force. He almost didn't qualify for this race. A couple of days ago, his car was on the East Coast. Force's crew drove straight through to Spokane without sleep, making 6 runs yesterday. The most runs ever made by Force in one day.
We ran Philadelphia Wednesday night, and we won down there, and it just took 60 hours to get here. And when we're done racing here Sunday, we're going to go right back 60 hours back and run Englishtown.
Force is lined up against Gary Densham in the teacher's pet. Densham has made the grade here in Spokane. He qualified number 2. He's also had an extra day to adjust his car to altitude, a big advantage in this sport. The school teacher from Bellflower stages his car first. Force leaps off the line, and for the second time in a row in the tower lane, Dencham's car twists from side to side. He almost goes over the center line. John Force makes up for lost time, clicking off a 589, 245 miles an hour. The last race in the first round pits a couple of long-time West Coast favorites on the line. Wally Giavia of Redwood City, California. And Chris Lane of Scottsdale, Arizona. Now, if you take a close look at the track on the tower side, you can see part of the reason why some of these cars have had such a difficult time. You see tire tracks that look like a dotted line. Without a smooth line of rubber, the cars develop tire shake. The wild ride that you've been seeing here. Giavia and Lane are ready to go. Giavia pulls away from Lane right from the start, but Giavia breaks his tires loose. He's over the center line. Almost clips Lane as Lane pulls up even with the pandemonium car. Giavia is disqualified, and Chris Lane wins with a 609, 215 miles an hour. And that closes out a wild and very woolly round one. But that's what funny cars are all about. We're back to the ultimate experience in professional motorsports. The nitro-burning funny car. Spokane Raceway Park is the backdrop for this year's ADRA World Finals. Well, while we wait for the cars to come back from the pits, we can go to Waco, Texas for a visit with a driver entrepreneur who hopes to change the way people think about and enjoy the sport. Billy Myers is building the drag strip of the future.
Are you a real Texas-type tycoon?
There's always a comment about that, and I guess we do things in a bigger way than a lot of people do. We spend a lot of money to be at the best of what we are, you know, in the sport we're in, and it's that takes a lot of, I guess it takes doing it big time to do it.
Billy, here you are in an expensive office. You have a busy staff, telephone interruptions. I mean, this is really big business. Do you feel this is the new trend in drag racing?
Well, it has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years. I mean, when we started racing, I had, I think, about $3,500 invested. And then this year, obviously, it'll be 15 years later. It is a little bit different in the amount of money that we spend and a lot of endorsements that we have, and the sport's changed just a phenomenal amount.
Do you think that soon the only drivers that will be able to compete will be those with a large corporate backing like you have, Billy?
Well, it's already pretty much that way. You know, last year we won 1/3 of all the races. This year, Kenny Bernstein and Budweiser cars won 1/3 of all the races. All of the major sponsored cars, you know, are the ones that have the ability to do all the testing and stuff. The original guys that worked at gas stations and just started racing professionally for a living, that day's over with, pretty much.
Billy, I heard that you have a goal to build the Taj Mahal of drag race facilities. Would you tell us about it?
Yeah, we're quite far along on the project. We are building, it's up in Dallas, on the south side of Dallas. It is going to be it's a multi-purpose facility. There's a drag strip and a road course there, and we'll have a driving school at it. And we have also purchased a facility in Oklahoma that we will close by the end of the year. And so that will be 2 facilities that we plan on running next year.
Now, Billy, you're only 31 years old, and you've already achieved one of the best racing records in history. Where do you go from here? What's left?
Well, I'd say I'm quite a bit younger still than the average person. I think there's only 2 or 3 current in the funny car class that are younger than me, maybe 3 or 4. So it's kind of hard to say when I will actually quit. I will never quit as a team owner.
Billy Myers is part of a new generation, a new breed in professional drag racing. First up in the semifinal, John Force and Chris Lane. Force goes way down the track with an incredible burnout. We talked to John Force earlier this season.
My goal is naturally to be world champion on all 3 circuits. You know, ADRA, NHRA, IHRA. Everyone has that goal in mind.
It really is remarkable that Force could travel as far as he has with a tired crew and run anywhere close to where he has. The cars are staged. Chris lane, uses too much clutch. He smokes his tires, and there's no time to backpedal against the Force. John Force lets everyone know at the World Finals he means to win all the marbles. Force posts a 589, 248 miles an hour.
141.73. John Force is in the final.
Barbara Lee told me earlier she found the absolutely perfect drag racing fan to explain why people buy so many souvenirs at the track. I'm not sure I should believe her.
Sir? Sir, could you remove your earphones just a moment? Can we talk to you just for a minute?
Sure.
Thank you. Have you been following drag races long?
No, this is my first one. You can't tell, though, can you?
No. It looks like you're taking home a lot of souvenirs.
Yeah. I made a stop at the souvenir stand. I've been here for the last, I'd say hour and a half.
Would you mind showing what you're going to take home?
Here's one. You want to hold to that. Don't drink the Coke, though, okay? And then I got a magazine and can you hold that under your arm here like that? Okay. The hat.
Is that for your son?
No, that's for me. I hold on to that. And the jacket. I got the jacket. You like the jacket? Oh, wait a minute. I got some things for my wife here. Got to have that. You can't leave the drag race without getting something for your wife. I got something for the kids too. Well, for the kid that's on the way. This is for the other one. They won't fit me. I tried. And I got the jacket, of course. The jacket's neat. And I think last I got the T-shirt. They even autographed it. Connie Coletta. Funny part about it is I don't even know who she is.
Oh, Barbara Lee, you just convinced me. Thanks. This is the last race in the semifinal round. The winner of this race will face John the Brute Force in the final. On the tower side, Johnny West. West came into this event today tied to the point with John Force in the race for the all-around world title at 1,350 points. Gary Ritter's on the spectator side with the power and experience to stop West's run for the crown. Barbara Lee spent some time earlier today with West, the driver known as the Whiz Kid.
Where is your family?
I was raised in Chandler itself. I was born in Mesa, and then we moved to Chandler, and I've been there most of my life. I moved to L.A. for about a half a year, and then we came back to Phoenix.
How'd you get into racing? Is it something you always wanted to do?
I was family-orientated. My older brother was into it, kind of helped him out at the races, and then I got into my own racing program, so we just started racing on my own after Jim helped me out get started.
Have you always loved cars, loved working on cars, or are you in it because you just like to go fast?
It's more the challenge of making everything work right, see if you can get everything to click at least one run out of 50. It's kind of it's a challenge for us more than anything.
What is your favorite thing about racing?
Winning. It's just without a doubt is winning. That's the only thing there is for me. We're trying to do it to stay alive. This is what I'm doing now full time. We quit work about a year ago, so we have to do it for a little bit of financial gain. We don't have any major sponsors, so we have to depend on the purse to support ourselves. But winning keeps us driving more than anything.
The cars are under the tree. West in the blue car, tower side. West moves around in the groove, but Ritter really starts to lose traction. Ritter looks like he's lost control right at the retaining wall. Gary Ritter almost careened into that safety wall that protects the fans. Johnny West flies across the finish without any real threat. A 6:19, 234 miles an hour. There have been more than just a couple of hair-raising rides down the quarter mile this afternoon. It's time to take a deep breath and look at how things stack up for the final. John Force will make his third run against Johnny West. After qualifying in 2 rounds of competition, these two drivers are still tied at 1,650 points each. Both the World Finals trophy and the all-around title are up for grabs. This has to be the best funny car finale yet this year. It's time for a short commercial break. The Funny Car World Finals each year in Spokane gives nearly 130,000 racing fans the opportunity to get up close and personal with the drivers, the athletes of this motorsport. No other type of athletic event in the world allows its fans such intimate contact. Johnny West in the independent car that carries his own name is moving up in the staging lanes, along with John Force in the corporate-sponsored Coca-Cola Wendy's Funny Car. With just a few minutes to spare, Barbara Lee, with the help of a special camera, gives us a different perspective of the Jet Funny.
Well, actually, there's no words for the description of driving a car down the track at over 240 miles an hour. These jet cars have such a sensation behind them.
Rick Kikes described what it's like to be part of the jet set of drag racing.
It's something that is an exhilarating experience, but it's not something that you can qualify and explain to somebody, you know, with words.
Force and West are about ready to start their engines. But first, I know that you were about to ask, hey, what about the calendar girls? Well, I didn't forget. Remember 2 weeks ago at the Top Fuel World Finals, 10 girls competed for a chance to go to Las Vegas as part of the National Motorsports English Leather Calendar Girl pageant. Well, all the girls came back today with Shannon Bard chosen as the lucky winner. Actually, I'm sure artist Paul Shabbat, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, would be green with envy if he could be here with us today. It's time for the final. An incredible sum of money, probably in the millions, and even a larger number of fans are part of the next equation. John the Brute Force versus Johnny West. West is in the tower lane, losing lane choice to Force. The Whiz Kid had this to say about coming into the final.
Well, right now we're at a little bit of a disadvantage. I've overpowered the track, smoked the tires quite a bit. So we're going to try and back off the power, maybe hope that he might screw up a little bit. We can get out ahead of him off the starting line and just outrun him that way.
Force, true to his style, almost intimidates his competition with the unbridled fury of his burnouts.
We were a little bit off, like I told you yesterday, in qualifying. We just couldn't get it to run, couldn't get it to hook up. But Austin Coyle, my crew chief, made some changes, and as you can see today, she's run 580s every run, so I think we'll be okay going into the final.
Are you going to change anything?
No, we're just going to play our cards the way we are. She's consistent. The track always gets borderline late in the day. Spokane has an excellent racetrack here. You can tell by the times that the cars have been running, and we don't want to step on it any harder. We're just going to play our luck the way we've been playing and see if we can win.
The mental games sometimes played during staging are part of another league of competition. Force keys both of his lights. Then West. The air is filled with an incredible vibration. Both cars claw at the track, but it's clear that this is John Force's race. Force pulls into a comfortable lead, striking the win light with a 587, 252 miles an hour. John the Brute Force wins the ADRA Funny Car World Finals and seals the all-around World Championship title. Let's watch that run again. His time is a personal best for the meet, and Force's miles per hour of 252.10 is the top speed of the meet. We can go down to the shutdown area now and hear from John Force.
John? Right. Go. John, you're on a roll. How does it feel?
Well, for today, the roll's over. I want to get my crew chief in here. Come here, Austin. I'd like to get all my guys in here. Guys, just hang around here for a second. Give some credit where it's due here, huh? Louis, get in here. These guys worked hard here the last few days. Coyle, my brother Louis, Timmy, Dave, and Dave. And I'm stunned on last names again. Only worked with them 6 months. Finley, Fletcher, and Kahn. And the guys done real well. Cole made the car run excellent. Nothing falls off anymore. I mean, she's consistent, and we're just going to move on from here and try to win the next one. Got a good team here.
Don and Barbara Lee, how did you feel about today's race?
Well, I think a lot of credit should be given to John Force and his crew because they pulled a tremendous feat, coming 2,600 miles from the East Coast, barely qualifying in the event, 6th place, no lane choice in the first round, winning the event, and then on top of that, sewing up the points for the ADRA World Championships.
Let's take a last look at all the cars and drivers, crews and people, whatever their role, that made this event so great. This is Phil Harper from Spokane Raceway Park. We'll see you next week on the World of Pro Drag Superstars.